Been there, done that, know what's next. Life's a journey, never complex. A lifelong student, educators call, guiding future, standing tall. Conscious parenting, full hat on tight. Drove through decades, walked away for rights. From the motion pictures to the cosmic light. Contactee's journey, universal sight. Attempting to put the human back in humanity. Mic check, 1, 2, hear the clarity. Fascinated by the human experience. Sharing stories, breaking the silence. Human experience, hang out, come along. Kids, health, synaptic circle, singing our song. Random vlogs, life stories to tell. Each journey a beacon, wishing well. We all have incredible tales to share. Healing activation, spreading care. Light the way, find the others. What's your mission, sisters and brothers? Attempting to put the human back in humanity. Mic check, 1, 2, hear the clarity. Fascinated by the human experience. Sharing stories, breaking the silence. Rise, humanity, unity we seek. Community sharing, synaptic circle unique. Be the solution, lift someone today. Assist in the rise, light the way. May the song lift whoever comes across, and may you do the same, no matter the cost. Spread the light, ignite the flame. In unity we rise, forever reclaim. Attempting to put the human back in humanity. Mic check, 1, 2, hear the clarity. Fascinated by the human experience. Sharing stories, breaking the silence.
Hello, greetings and salutations. Hello, it's episode 45 of the High Vibe Human Experience Hangout. I'm your host, Heidi Pop, and I love to have conversations with folks who are following their bliss. They are who they say they are. They're walking the walk and they're talking the talk. And I'm super duper excited. Dr. Dennis Carroll, thank you for joining me. Thank you very much for taking the time to do this with me. How are you?
All right, and I'll say good afternoon to you. It's late evening where I'm at, but I'm in the upstate of South Carolina, so I'm way across the country from you.
You're on the opposite end there. Well, good evening to you, and good evening to this community chat. Carroll and Jane, thank you again, because I do believe it was on your show and your little push and nudge that I, got into Dr. Dennis Carroll's stuff. And of course, I love Jessica Jones. I see you with her all the time. And I love all the shows you do. So I just want to thank you, Dennis, for the community building that you do. There's a lot of, I've met a lot of friends through your show. And, I just really appreciate it. I think that's the power that we have as podcasters, right? Is to build these communities. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you, and it's a pleasure to be here, definitely. And we had some really good fun when you were on my show, so definitely, it's going to be a good night, I think. Absolutely.
Yes. Well, I know, some of our pals know you already, but I want to just ask really quickly, because you're paranormal researcher, investigator, author, you are all these things, but where did it really start for you? Like, were you a child and interested in all these things, or how did you get started into the high strangeness of everything?
Well, I've always been. I mean, I don't really can't remember a time when I wasn't interested in the supernatural, paranormal things. I read the stories and a lot of books when I was a kid. My school teachers, when I was in like third and fourth grade, they would get on to me for watching horror movies a lot. I was a monster kid. I loved monster movies. And I think my first actual experience, I think I might have had a few little experiences before then, but a full-blown paranormal experience that I had, I think I was around like 14 years old. That's what kind of lit a fire under me to understand the metaphysics of this universe and how the unseen around us affects the seen part, what we experience and how it affects us. And that, when I went, it was sort of definitely like going into the rabbit holes. And I found out it wasn't just one rabbit hole; it was a whole network of them, definitely. And to me, it was, it to this day is still fascinating. And I didn't And I've said this many times to people over the years, I didn't just want one little slice of the pie. I wanted the whole pie. And that included everything: cryptozoology, demonology, ghost research, the whole works. And all of it is fascinating to me. And here's the thing about it, Heidi. In some really strange, weird way, it's all kind of connected. Absolutely.
Yes, I think so too. I do you when you were 14 and had that experience, did you have a family that supported you? Like, or did they believe you, or did you not share it with them? Or how was that like as a 14-year-old having some sort of experience like that?
Well, I did kind of discuss it with some people, some of the older people but it was more or less, in some ways, a private experience to me. I didn't go out, talking that much about it. I was out, everyone's affected in different ways by things, and that's the way it kind of got me. And I had actually seen spiritual entities, and I saw three of them. And I began to wonder, what if. Here's the thing that struck me, and this question has haunted me my entire life. If this is real, this what I'm seeing and experiencing is real, and you have to believe your own eyes, okay, your own experience. Then what else is out there? And that is what has fueled that fire for me all these many years.
Oh, how did you get into I saw demonology on your website. So you studied like the dark and the light, like it looks like, of not only strangeness but behind the veil. What was that? How'd you fall into, or how what is demonology? Study of demons?
Well, now a lot of people, a lot of especially church people, they kind of say, "Oh, are you calling up demons?" Or what? No, 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 that's not what demonology. The real modern day demonology is not that. The ancient medieval demonology was, but modern day demonology is the study of the interaction of spiritual forces in our world around us and how they affect us. The metaphysical thing I mentioned earlier. Um, a lot of people misconstrue that. They think if you're a demonologist, you're going into grimoires and doing all kinds of rituals and stuff like that. Now, this is how you basically learn spiritual warfare against these darker entities, and you offer help to people this way. It's sort of a deliverance ministry type thing in many ways, and it is actual spiritual warfare that you engage
Mm,
in against these
mm.
dark entities because they are out to really mess people up a lot of times. And I have gone into a lot. This is what I call spirit research. Okay, I
Okay.
don't I don't go around tagging myself as a demonologist too much, although I've been called that over the years, and that is what I do. But spiritual research covers a broad spectrum. It's just not just demonology. It can go into like ghost hunting. I don't like to call it ghost hunting. I call it spiritual research. But anyway, that's been done to death. But it covers that. It covers other paranormal and supernatural things that go on connected with these things. So it's a very broad field when you look at it that way. But
Yeah, yeah.
when it comes to demonology, these things, and they do exist. I have seen them face to face. They are very real. And here's the thing about it, Howdy, they can be very dangerous, and
Mm.
you got to understand what you're dealing with and how to deal with it, or you could just put yourself and other people in a lot of jeopardy.
Oof. Do you think we do have power in our frequency? Like, we can protect ourselves with the right mindset, or does it require more than that?
Well, I think you definitely want to protect yourself in instances like these. When you run into these kind of entities, you got to have that, like they say in Star Trek, you got to have the shields up. You got to be very careful how you deal with it around, especially you're dealing with people too. Okay, you're dealing with people's lives, and you have to be very careful how you approach these things. But you definitely got to have a protection, and the best protection, some of the best protection, is definitely faith over fear, because these things use fear as a weapon against you. You got to always remember that. That's one of their big things. I had an old exorcist tell me one time that demons are mostly theatrical. They just try to freak you out. They try to do things to scare you, get you negative, get you in that negative because they feed off of negativity. See, that's what they're doing. They're using you for that. And if you break that chain in that cycle, then you've got them where you really need them to be. But you got to protect yourself and I'll just say it like this: it's kind of like vibrating on higher frequency. When you think about vibrating on higher things that vibrate on a high frequency become invisible to things on a lower frequency. And these things are definitely on a lower frequency, okay? And if you are on a higher frequency, that sort of protects you. They can't see you, they can't interact with you like that if you're on a higher frequency with them.
Mm-hmm. I am recalling, I think we were talking about that on your show when I was talking about Hollywood and stuff like that. Like it comes a point where you just know you're not seen, but you're operating at such a level. You're good. You don't want to be seen. Yeah, I'm hearing all of that. And I see Terry there. Hello from across the planet from Australia there, and Daryl and Polly. Just wanted to say hello to all you guys there. Mr. Bauer. Thank you guys. Thanks for playing it. And if anybody has a question for Dennis. Well, little bit of a pivot, but I know you have so much information to share. You also are incredibly wise and well researched when it comes to folklore. So we were going to talk about some old fun folklorish kind of stories. I was just in Poland and I was in northern Wales, and I was going to ask you, what your thoughts are, what are your favorite stories from there. Mm-hmm.
I've always kind of been an anthropologist at heart. I love cultures. I love the cultures of the world, the indigenous peoples of this country, all across the world, the Japanese culture, the Chinese. All this is fascinating to me, and it all has to deal with folklore and the stories that you find in folklore. I love storytelling. I love to hear stories, and I love to learn about them because folklore actually shows you a deep look into your own culture or the culture of other people, and it takes you outside of yourself, and you see things through other people's eyes sometimes with this folklore. And my favorite quote in the whole world, one of my favorite quotes, was by Herbert Spencer, who said, "Every myth and legend known to mankind is not without its authentic foundation." And that's very interesting when you think about it, because all of folklore, although it may be like, fairy tales and stories, it has some truth in there. And that's what you do as a folklorist. A lot of times you look for that truth. And it teaches you things. It shows you things.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I know we have tons of American folklore, and I know the Native Americans have passed down a ton. And when you were studying this, or what's some of the stories you first think of when you think of Poland, or when you think of the castles in Wales and Ireland?
Oh, yeah. You were in some very interesting cryptid territory. If you didn't know that, out there, when you were in Poland, definitely there are some very interesting. Of course you have some vampires in Poland, and also Romania, Hungary, places like that. They're usually called Stringel or Striga. They are known as actual vampires. They're not the ones you see in Hollywood. There's some different attributes to them, but they're very interesting. And one of these actually in Poland is sort of like an owl witch, and she supposedly can steal children. And I got it written down here. I think that's their name. She is called a Willa, and she rides and exists on the wind. That's the interesting thing about it. Yeah, and so and she supposedly can steal children, or most of the time give children bad dreams. So that's an interesting. Yeah.
I'm shocked because one of the favorite stories I read my kids as when they were littler, Willa in the Wind. I wonder if it was about any. Well, it had to do, with a crazy witch lady. Oh my gosh, I have to find that book again.
That's
Wow, that's a good
Willa,
one.
Willa. Okay,
Yes,
yeah, that's the Willa.
yes, that's it.
And that struck me as
So
strange because that's one of the few things, Heidi, I've ever heard of that's supposed to be like a wish that exists on the wind. That's very interesting.
that's really interesting. And you know what? My class will like that one too. Thank you, because they like the woo. My little kids in class. I might pivot really quick for a question. We have a question from Polly. She wanted to
Yeah.
ask you, um, could you please explain the process from the moment the soul leaves the body till they get stuck here? Why does this happen? Is this something you would be able to answer for her?
It can be a lot of times when that happens, there's sort of a tie to it. That's like unfinished business. I know I had one case where this unfortunate fellow died in a farm accident on a field outside, not too far from his house. And he was supposedly seen after he had passed away, seen walking through this field as if he was still trying to get home. And when they hit, I think the tractor had turned over on him, and how he had become unalived, as they say. And he had been struggling in the death throes to get out from under that tractor. And his last thoughts in this world were trying to get home, back home to his family and all that. So when I was told about this, and his granddaughter actually saw him in the field, and she said some of her children saw him, and they had never seen their great grandfather. Okay, and they said, and she showed him a picture of him, and he said, "Yeah, that's the man out in the field." So
Oh,
when they told me that, I said, "Ah, well, this does not sound good. This sounds like what we call this thing. This energy needs a soul rescue. We call that a soul rescue." So I went out to this field that night, and I spoke to this man out in the field, and I told him, I said, "Look, everything's okay. Your family's doing fine. You don't need to come back. You need to go to the light now. You need to go. You need to go find peace." And go home where you need to go, but don't worry about coming back here because everything's fine. You know, everything has been reconciled, and that was years ago. And so far as I know, he has never been seen in that field again. So hopefully, he found the place he needed to go.
ah. So sometimes it takes a little guidance, huh? It takes a little bit of, it's all right, you can
Mm.
go, or help them finish their loose ends. And hi, Woo Rider, good to see you, Derek. Well, very cool. Well, my goodness, and Amber World, she's back. Hello. Well, so back to the folklore at the Poland and Willa in the Wind, which is blowing me away because there is this book that I have to find now and send you a picture. Um,
Yeah.
we happened to be in southeastern Poland. Well, we did drive all over, and we were in Krakow for a while, and we spent some time in the underground city there, the salt mines. That felt a little something going on. But the other route we went was southeast. That's where his family was, very much by the Ukraine border. And I heard that there's some activity around there. Are there any cryptids you know of over there? Oh, what could you
Yeah, well,
what
there's
have you
most
heard of?
definitely they care with the Ukrainians. That's called the Leshy. Have you ever heard of the Leshy? The Leshy is sort of like the Green Man. I know you may have heard of the Green Man. He sort of is a spirit of nature, like, and he is found throughout that region of Eastern Europe a lot, and you may even see him depicted on a lot of family crests and
Hmm.
shields and stuff. But he's often shown as like an old man with a long beard, and it's got leaves and grass around him and all that. So he's sort of like a representation of, in other words, I would call him Father Nature, not Mother Nature. Okay, he was definitely a little like Father Nature, kind of. And he's supposed to be kind of good and bad. If you disrespect the land and the forest, then you might feel his wrath. He may, do some stuff to you. But if you're good and you're respecting things, and you take care of the land and its animals and all that, then the Leshy will be on your side. Okay, that's usually the way that goes. But it's a very fascinating story, and it also kind of ties in a little bit, and with his description is sort of being wearing furs and all that. It sounds a little bit like Bigfoot too, in a little way, in a little bit of a
Yeah,
way. But
yeah.
also, if you get further into Western Europe, he becomes the wild man, which does look a lot like Bigfoot, by the way. And you will see the wild man depicted on a lot of family crests and stuff like that. And before we ever known him, the European people knew him as Bigfoot or Sasquatch. He was the wild man.
Huh. You know what? It resonates big time because that's kind of my feeling in the Pacific Northwest seeing the Sasquatch. I saw that it was one of those you respect their environment. You know, it's kind of like it was reciprocated. Maybe the phase and everything too. You show respect to the woods, you'll be okay. I think. I don't
Yeah.
know. Haven't tried it enough, I
And
guess.
I think a lot of these things, Heidi, they kind of know what your intentions are when you go out there in the woods. Okay, when you're in their home or their place, they kind of know what your intentions are. And if they're not, you don't have good intentions, they may deal with you that way. But if you got good intentions, then they probably say, "Well, we'll leave you alone. We're not going to mess with you," kind of thing. And the Native Americans believe this to a certain extent. That's how they kind of coexisted with these. And I have seen Bigfoot very close up. I do know he exists. I know he's real, and that's one of those things where you got to wonder what else is out there. But yeah, definitely he was real. But I kind of got the feeling when I saw him, and I was close enough to reach out and touch him. That's how close I was to him. That he was like, you don't bother me, and I don't bother you, kind of a deal. And that was how it went. And he kind of. Here's the weird thing, he kind of had a little bit of a surprised look on his face. I guess I did too. Yeah.
He was mimicking you. You're surprised. Like, so you didn't have fear in the moment. Again, though, isn't that the frequency work? He got a read on it got a read on you so quick because of your energy field. Maybe you weren't threatening in the moment. Well, how old were you then when that happened? Can I ask?
Well, I've had a lot of people ask me this. Did you want to run, Dennis? No, I wanted to run to him. I didn't want to run away from him. I wanted to see more of him. It wasn't long enough of a visit, definitely. That's the way, with being ex-law enforcement, we were taught that you don't run from the guns, shots, you run to them. That's just the way you have to deal with it. And a lot of times I think people let fear take over when they shouldn't. You should try to use the fear in a way that's more beneficial to you. And you can train yourself to do this if you apply yourself to it. You can kind of get here's what I tell a lot of people, and I've mentored a lot of groups over the years and interested in this kind of stuff. If you get a handle on your fear, then you can control it. And that's very important. Yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I think that's huge. I was raised, that would be my mom and dad would always say it's the fear of the unknown. When I'd be scared to try something new or, they'd ask me to ask questions. What is it a fear of? A new experience, a threatening thing? Like you have to be specific really, because it could just be, you have no knowledge of it. So it's unknown. So why not move through it?
We got to realize fear begins here. That's where it
Yeah.
really starts. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that'd be a good hat.
Well, thank
Yes.
you. That's my hunting hat. I have actually it was looking for a little rain today. That's why I was wearing it when I got it kind of come in. But anyway, I get a lot of compliments on it. Thank you.
I love. Well, so we have a little bit of a Bigfooty kind of guy, and then the witch. Are there any other Polish folklore stories that I can surprise my hubby and kids with?
Of course, we mentioned that before the show. We were talking about Baba Yaga, the boogeyman. Well, actually, I want to clear something up about that on account of the John Wick movies and stuff like that. They call him Baba Yaga, the boogeyman, but Baba Yaga is not the boogeyman. That's her husband. Baba Yaga is the wood witch, okay, and she lives in a house in the woods, a house that sits on chicken legs, and she catches little children like Hansel and Gretel. That was the inspiration. Baba Yaga was the inspiration for that, and she catches little children and eats them, and then uses their bones to build her fence around her house with. So that's why you want to avoid Baba Yaga, okay? You don't want to do it.
Oh, and it was in a movie. That was in a movie as well, it sounds like. Baba Yaga was depicted well in the movie Hellboy. Oh boy, I have to check that out. I was not aware of this. This is awesome. You're blowing my mind, Dennis.
Mhm.
This is fun. This is good stuff. Krakow. Do you have anything on Krakow? That has a lot of rich history there. Any specifics
There is
over?
one thing about that. Yeah, I don't know if you're familiar with the Wawel. The Wawel dragon is supposed to be the dragon of Poland. Oh yeah, and of course we'll talk about Wales in a little while. Wales is great on dragons, by the way. That's a big thing in Wales. Okay, and of course it's on the national emblem and everything. Okay,
Yep.
but
Yep.
you do have a actual dragon in Krakow that supposedly is seen around the mountains or hills that are close to there, or some of that. So. I think it's supposed we're back in time. Supposedly, a lot of soldiers were looking for this dragon because, like all dragons, it supposedly had a treasure somewhere around there, Krakow
Oh,
somewhere.
I heard of that.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So that was a big thing in Poland. That was a well-known legend there. Absolutely.
Oh yeah. Okay. Then
I like
I get that. Yeah, that's a good one. Uh-oh. We have another question from Polly I wanted to ask you. Polly is asking, in one of my experiences, I had a strong feeling I need to wake up to find out that a tarantula, a beetle size, like a car beetle, was in the room. It was grabbing my sister. Any info on arachnoids and what they do? I remember you asked me and Amber that, Polly. Good one. Do you have any hits
that
on
kind of
arachnoids?
probably, I've had a lot of dealings with dreams, Heidi. I've had a lot of people come to me, and I kind of have learned to interpret them sometimes in a psychological kind of way. A lot of times, these things are what we are repressing in our subconscious. They may be a deep seated fear or something like that. Especially if you have a fear of spiders, you would dream something like that, definitely. But it may go further deeper than that. It may be sort of a self conscious fear that you're maybe losing control of a situation or whatever it may be, and it shows up this way symbolically, like in your dreams. Matter of fact, I had a case not long ago. It was a witchcraft case where this fellow was being oppressed by a dark witch, and I actually had a dream about this, and she showed up in that dream, and I was able to advise this fella about it. So that's very interesting. It's like sometimes you dreams can give you a definite deep insight into things, and I tell a lot of people if you have a very interesting dream, first thing you need to do is write it down because if you don't, you will forget it. Definitely, yeah.
Yep.
And if it's something that you might need to know, it might be very important that you make a record of it. So yeah,
Yeah.
I tell people to do that a lot. Yeah.
A lot of messages and messaging, right? You can get through your dreams. Kids too. I try to get my kids to write their stuff down. Yeah, good call. You can see patterns. Daryl, that's a great question. Do they have giant trolls there in Poland? I know there's some giants because I married one, but I didn't see too many other
Mm.
giants. But how about giant trolls? Have you heard any giant troll stories, Dennis?
Oh yeah, that's another one of my favorite cryptids. I love trolls, definitely. And you do have them in Scandinavia, Norway, and parts of Poland. Supposedly, you have the mountain trolls. Yeah, the mountain trolls are big, big guys. They're like 20 foot tall. I mean, they're like mountains themselves, supposedly. And here's the interesting thing, Heidi. According to some people, like in Poland and places like that, these giants are still there, although they're just petrified, and now they look like rock formations.
Oh, yes, yes, I did hear about that. Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, I needed more pictures. Oh gosh. Yeah, that's really cool.
And
I
some
actually have
dragons,
their
there are some dragons supposedly that have turned into petrified rock formations as well. Yeah.
I would not be surprised at all. And I don't know if we're ready to go there. Well, first, happy birthday to your daughter, Derek. It's his daughter's Journey Lynn turned 6 today. Woo, happy birthday. So he's going to step off, but happy birthday to her. But speaking of dragons, would this be a good time to jump over to Wales? Because when you say about the rock formations and stuff, there were some really interesting formations, especially the Great Orn, which I know is supposed to be a giant snake, like Loki's one of his children, the monstrous children, Gornangaman. I think I'm saying that right, from Norse mythology. Gornangaman. Oh, I taught it. I should know it. Anyway, I had more, I feel, activity in Wales. Like, I don't know if it's because Poland was a lot of the family time, like my husband's family, and a lot of like home cooking and chilling, whereas we explored more in Wales, and that was really like activating. It was I could feel the vibes are still going on there, I think. So I would think there'd be some petrified dragons in those rocks there, as well as maybe some still around. I don't know. What have you heard?
But that's like that old saying: "Be careful, you do not ever want to wake a sleeping dragon." That's not a good idea. So
Yes.
I don't think
Or
I'd want
mom.
to wake one up. Definitely, yeah. There's another old saying about that. I'm sure you've heard it. It said, "Do not meddle in the affairs of dragons, because you are crunchy and taste good with ketchup."
Yeah, that's perfect. That's great. And the ketchup in Europe is actually good ketchup. It's only like 3 ingredients. Here in the States, it's like 40 ingredients. Don't get me started on ketchup
Mm.
or ketchup.
We're
Yeah,
kind of
those dragons.
diversified, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. I have my Welsh little thing here. This is one of my only trinkets, but there's the dragon. There's one of the
Oh
dragons.
yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So there's the flag, but those castles are everywhere. They're like Starbucks. They are everywhere. And the stone wall, like the history is so alive there. It's pretty incredible. And I know
Mhm.
there's some haunted ones. I'm going to ask Carol and Jane about that Saturday. I have some things for them, but lot of crazy stuff there. What's some of your favorite stories? Because you said you have some Welsh blood, correct?
Oh yes, from my mother's side, I definitely have some of that. In Wales, I've done a lot of research into Wales and all that. Like I said, her family has a castle over there and all that stuff, which is neat. I'd love to go over there and see it one day. But um, Wales can tend to be sort of a dark country in some ways, the way their beliefs are in some things. They have, I think it has to do with the fact that, a lot of coal mining and stuff went on there as well and all that. So they had sort of a kind of dark slant on some of this stuff, absolutely. And but I was going to relate to you tonight. My favorite legend from Wales is the grave of Beth Gellert. Have you ever heard that?
No, the grave of Beth Gellert. I haven't heard
Beth
of that
Grave,
one.
and it's also called the grave of the Greyhound.
Okay.
And what it is a story about Lord Llewellyn. Now, Lord Llewellyn loved to hunt. He loved to go to fox hunts and stuff like that. And he had a favorite hound that was one of the best dogs in the world. And his name was Beth Gellert, which in Welsh means the greyhound. Okay. And so he loved this dog, and then it was next to his child. This was his favorite thing. This dog was, because they spent a lot of time together hunting, and that was his favorite thing. So anyway, one day he went to go out to hunt, and he called Beth Alert, but it never came. It didn't come, like it usually does. So we went on and went to the hunt, and but his heart wasn't in it because his favorite dog wasn't with him. And so he kind of quit early and came back home. And when he got home and walked in the door of his castle, um, Beth Gellert came up to him, and Beth Gellert had blood on him. He had blood on his muzzle and dripping off of him. And all of a sudden, he said to himself, "Oh my God, what's happened to my child?" He had a little young child in the castle, and he went over there, and the cradle was knocked over, and blood was everywhere, and no child anywhere. And he pulled out his sword, and he said, "You hellhound, you've killed my child." And he drove that sword into Beth Gellert and killed him. And he said, even his dying yell fell heavy on Lord Llewellyn's heart because he loved that hound so much. And he felt so betrayed. But with Beth Gellert's dying yell, a baby cried. And he
Oh
found
no.
the baby under the couch with a dead wolf. Beth Gellert had killed that wolf to save it. And so he said,
Oh.
the story goes that he hung up his horn and his hunting spear, and he never went hunting again. And he raised a big tomb to Beth Gellert. And they said to this day that hunters would pass by and tip their hats at the grave of Beth Gellert.
Oh,
And they say you
that's
can go to
amazing.
Wales and see it. You can go to Wales and see that grave.
I'm going to look that up if it's north or
There's a
south or wherever
look
it is.
it up, and there's a very famous poem about it. You would love to read that to your kids. It's a great poem.
Yeah. Yeah, I will. Oh, that was so. You're such a good storyteller. I love it. We were talking about that before we were taping here. How both Mr. Dennis Carroll and I love storytelling. That's how I teach, and I mean, you excel at it. So thank you. And hi, Area
I've
51.
had a
I
lot
see
of
you
practice. Yeah.
too. I've just seen if there was another. Thanks, Joe Fox. He's showing you some love over there. Oh my goodness. So yeah, I'm going to look at where that is. I know we spent some time with the Great Orne, and Llandudno is where my fella lived for a very long time before he moved here. And there's some haunted areas there. And the Great Orne is where I was saying about the serpent. But when we went through the Snowdonian National Forest, have you heard of the Snowdonian Forest?
Oh yeah, that's where Beth
Yeah.
Gellert's grave is. Snowdon. Yeah.
Oh, well, that makes sense then. Maybe we were around there. One
Yeah.
of the areas, the whole area was majestic, made me cry. It was so breathtaking. But then you go through where they mine, and they still do it. It's a still active mining town. In fact, the host that we were staying at, that was her childhood. It's still active and it's dark. You drive through it. It is dark, not just with the hillside being just slate and they're just mining away, but it's dense. You see the people, it's not a happy place. And then you go to the surrounding and it's waterfalls and, really lush forests and trees. And they say that's the land of Merlin and King Arthur. But I was surprised that in the middle of all the beauty, there was this darkness, and then it made sense. So I wonder if that's where the grave is. Huh. And a lot of hunters there too.
I think it's supposed to be the crossroads, but there are a lot of legends. That is a very rugged place. It is very beautiful, though, very beautiful, but it's
Gorgeous.
rugged land. Yeah.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of stories about King Arthur and the knights supposedly around there, and Merlin as well. And Merlin supposedly turned a dragon into a mountain. That's part of the Snowdon Range. That's another legend that's there. Yeah. And also that supposedly on dark, windy nights, people have supposedly seen King Arthur and his knights riding, the ghosts of them riding down the roads in Wales and places like that. So it's very interesting. But I will tell you about a very interesting legend that is also in Poland and Wales. They share a very interesting legend. It's one of my most, as a matter of fact, I put the story about this in my last book I wrote, The Road Unseen. And it is called The Wild Hunt. Have you ever heard of that?
Mm-mm.
The Wild Hunt. It's supposed to be that Herm, the great hunter, the horned hunter, or it can be Odin riding to the hounds on dark, windy winter nights. And if you are out and they catch you, they will sweep you up and you will be doomed to ride with them forever on the wild hunt. And he has hounds with him, and the sort of souls of doomed people ride with him on the wild hunt. So they say on dark winter nights, when you hear the wind rattling in the trees and rattling the windows, you say, stop and say, "Oh, that sounds like the wild hunt passing by."
Wow, that's pretty cool. I wonder if those hounds, you said Odin, so from Norse, you mean? Because I know the hounds were sun and the moon, like the folklore behind Norse mythology is incredible. And Area 51 used to feed coyotes in California. I became part of the pack. Oh, did you now? Is that why you're gone? And hi, Tanya, and hello to you.
I remember the last time I was on a Bigfoot hunt, we were camping out at night. We couldn't sleep because the coyotes would not leave us alone. They were out. They were hollering all night out there. Definitely. Yeah.
Oh yes, they're very loud. We get them too. Absolutely, especially when they find a local puppy or something.
Yeah.
It gets a little loud. It can wake you up. Well, the dragons, they mean business. Everywhere we went, there were smokies, they call them. They were everywhere. Or the smoky was in Poland, but I was surrounded by dragons. I'm glad you brought that up. And interestingly enough, when we were in Poland, the Polish cousins took us to see How to Train Your Dragon, which was in English. They read the
Oh,
Polish
yeah.
subtitles. But when we left Poland and went to Wales, it felt like the terrain of How to Train Your Dragon. It was, cliffside, and like you're saying, a lot of wild. There's a lot of wild
Yeah.
land. Just
Yeah.
walking on it, it's just bounces. It's just, and then the stone walls and everything. Do you feel there's an energy in the stones? Like you can feel the frequency, or maybe some people can feel back, the image of what happened back when it was built. Like, some say the stones can be time travel. So what are your thoughts on just the stonework? Or I'm not talking even Stonehenge. I'm talking just
Mhm.
the rich history of the stones. Yeah.
You have a lot of the barrows over there, the mounds and stuff like that. You have those around, and there are a lot of stories told about. I don't know if you've ever heard of the barrow light, which a lot of people think that J.R.R. Tolkien made this up, but actually he got it from very ancient folklore. The barrow lights are actually spirits, evil kind of spirits that haunted these barrows, supposedly. And a lot of the local people will tell you, go wherever you want to in the day, but at night you need to stay home in your cottage because there are certain
Mm.
things that walk out there in the darkness you definitely do not want to run into. And the barrow lights are supposed to be very bad. And I think they actually, I love J.R.R. Tolkien, by the way. I love
Yeah.
all of his work, The Lord of the Rings and all of it. Great stuff. And supposedly these things are showed up, I think, in one movie. I think it was The Hobbit, if I'm not mistaken. But you don't get, some of it got cut out, unfortunately. And I think you can, if you rent or buy the DVD, you can see the cut out section of it. It was neat. But anyway, he was great on folklore. He knew his folklore. He was deep into that stuff. And of course, creating his own languages for the elves and all that stuff. That was amazing. But he was impressed. The reason I bring that up, he was impressed a lot by the land in Wales and all that. It was kind of rugged and dark and rugged, but he loved that, and you can see the influence of that in his stories, definitely.
Mm, mm. Yeah, as soon as we got back, yeah, my daughter's into The Hobbit right now, and reading some of the stuff. After I said Stonehenge, though, I have to share that Snowdonia Forest. There is a particular area, not the Dark Village that's in the middle, but another area where they mine for granite. I believe slate and granite as well. I have to get my stones correctly, but you might know what I'm talking about. It's the stone that they find in Stonehenge, but which is in South Wales, which is like 8 hours away. And it's not traced anywhere in South Wales. It's only found in the Snowdonia National Forest. So they say the locals are like, how did it get there? Especially way back when. Was it the giants? Was it the Sasquatch? Was it like levitation, apparition? Like, how did it happen? Have you heard anything about that?
Absolutely. There's a lot of stories of giants in Wales, and just about as many as there are dragons, definitely. And supposedly the quarried stones for Stonehenge came from that section in there, like you're talking about. They were supposedly delivered by giants at one time or another. That's how the stones got to where they were. Or also, there's another legend that Merlin actually transported them there. That's another interesting one too. Merlin's a big guy in Wales. Definitely, they have a
Oh,
lot of
yeah.
stories about him, and they tell a lot because that's supposedly his birthplace, by the way.
Yeah.
And I think the birthplace of King Arthur and all that. And
Yeah.
I have a friend who is a writer. He's a British writer. He has done a ton of research on this, written a good many books on this. About some that he believes that without a doubt the original Camelot was definitely in Wales.
I heard the same.
Yeah.
Yes, I think I still, based on what I was feeling and going through, I wouldn't be surprised one bit. Wow. Um, I don't know. I'm just kind of blown away. I forgot my last two questions, but I'm just thinking about how majestic it is there. Honestly, I wished we had more time there. That was we traveled and we were tourists for 8 days, and we still didn't see everything just in northern Wales. We didn't even go south. There's so much to see. Oh, that's what I was going to ask you. Knights of Templar. I saw what you're a part of an organization is that studies that, or I saw something about the Knights of Templar on your web. What's the affiliation with that?
Yeah, I was definitely a member of the Knights Templar. Now, this is not the old guys. Okay, that's not the not the original ones, but it is a Christian organization. But and it I'm no longer really a member anymore. I've let my membership
Okay.
lapse in it. But it was a Christian membership,
Okay.
fellowship thing, and it kind of has gotten in latter years a little more political for my own taste, because of some things that are taking place in England and Greater Britain, with some of the immigrants and stuff like that. So, but in its day, it was a great organization. But a lot of people, that scares a lot of people when I mention that, because, oh, you're not a Knights Templar, because there's so many legends and stories about the original Knights Templar. And
Sure.
I've done a whole ton of research on that. It's fascinating stuff. But
It is.
there are a lot of supposition to this that probably a good many of the true Knights Templar ended up in Wales and Scotland.
Okay.
When
That's what it was.
they got some out of France, and that's where they
Yeah.
went. Hmm.
I felt called to ask because it keeps falling in my lap. Just the title of Knights of Templar, just the study of it, and even my friend gifted me over 2 years ago, maybe the Mists of Avalon book, and I never picked it up, but it fell on me the other day after and it's a lot about that, and so I'm like, I guess I'm supposed to pick this up and read this. So, so I was just
Yeah,
checking in. And once I saw it on here, I'm like, I gotta ask him. Um,
yeah.
oh, good
But
question, Polly. I'm. Mhm.
it is
Oh,
a
go
big
ahead.
mystery. What
Yeah,
happened
yeah,
to the
yeah,
true Knights Templar? Big mystery, yeah. And
yeah, yeah.
I think when the leaders were executed in France, I think in the bay there were like 15 ships that belonged to them that disappeared overnight to different destinations. Some believe that some went to Sweden, or parts of Norway, and some went to Scotland and Wales, and maybe even America.
Wouldn't
That's
be
interesting.
surprised. Yes, that is
Mhm.
very interesting for entertainment purposes only. um, I know I'm going to start a little bit of a wind down here, but I wanted to kind of pivot back over to some paranormal here with Polly's question. Well, all of it is, isn't it? What is your never do, in quotes? What's your never do while dealing with spirits and why? Good question, Polly. Like, how would you
Well,
answer
really,
that?
it's not a good idea to establish real true contact with some of these spirits. You got to remember something very important. Whenever you contact the other side, you don't know who you're really talking to. And so you got to be very careful how you approach this subject, because some entities, and I've run into a lot of entities in my career, a lot of different kinds, some entities which are very dark and very malevolent, you do not ever want any kind of attachment with or any kind of contact with, because once they form communication with you, then they can also form attachment. And you have to be very, very careful how you deal with that. It's very important. So it's really, I tell people, just to be on the safe side, it's not a good idea to contact these things or try to communicate with them.
Hmm.
You can kind of punch them a little bit. You can kind of poke them to see if they're there and what you're dealing with that way. But it's really not good idea to establish contact like that.
Mm. Okay, yeah. How's that, Polly? That sounds about good with me. You are another pivot, but are you writing another book? Is that what you were saying? Are you on another? Was this like your fourth or fifth book? You said were you in the middle of writing something again? I
Yeah,
thought I heard you
yeah,
said mention that
yeah.
fifth book. Jeez, look at you
Yeah, well,
go.
the name. Yeah, matter of fact, I'm working on it, still working. Hopefully, I will have it done by the end of the year. I hope. Anyway, it's called Paracryptidology: Hunting Monsters and Things of Nightmare. And I put on the back. You like this? I put on the back the other day. I was doing the back cover, and on the back cover, I'm gonna have like a little boy watching TV. It's gonna have a monster movie on it, and this is what it's gonna say. When you were a child, you believe in monsters, and then you grow up to find out they are real.
Oh, yeah, that's good. That's really
Yeah.
good. Jeez. I love that. Well, yes, we got your channel right here. And Polly loved that. So thank you for that. Um, oh my gosh, that's most excellent. I want to share. There's a few peeps in here that might very well not know ya, but hunting the shadows. That's your handle on. You're on. I know you're on YouTube, and Facebook. But are you on any other social medias, or are those your two main go-to?
Yeah, well, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I'm on TikTok, I'm on X, I'm on all that.
Ah,
It's Dennis
I
W.
didn't see you on
Girl,
TikTok.
yeah,
Okay.
Dennis
Is it all
W.
hunting
Girl,
the
yeah.
shadows? At
Uh,
hunting the shadows
yeah,
is
I'm
your
especially
handle?
going across the board with it, definitely. But my channel on YouTube is called Hunting the Shadows YouTube channel, and we have 3 nights, 3 shows a week. On Monday with Gerald Fountain, we do The Road
Mhm.
Less Traveled. That's at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All my shows are 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay. And Wednesday night we do Hunting the Shadows, and Friday nights we do Paranormal Point of View. I do a lot of book reviews, movie reviews, and stuff. Anything that has to do with the paranormal, supernatural aspects of this world. Um,
Mhm.
we get into some very interesting. Sometimes we just have open mic night. We kind of talk about things and like that. So it's good to connect with people that way. And also, I have a consultation service. I have a paranormal consultation. I've actually consulted with people all over the world with their demonological and paranormal problems or whatever. And you can contact me at denniswcarroll.com if you need to answer a question, ask a question, or just want to tell me your story, whatever. Sometimes it's good to people get their stories out. And I've had Heidi, over the years, I've had a lot of people always say, well, you don't think I'm crazy, and I said, no, 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 I am the last person on this planet that will think you're crazy. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, I love you know what? That's true. People just want to be seen and heard, don't they? And so they have an unbiased ear. Listen to them. So thank you for doing that for everybody. And I first thanks for the shout out. I heard you and Carol last night. So thank you for the shout out at the beginning of your show. You guys had some really nice accolades about me and my little shows I'm doing. But you're a very regular presence on Jessica Jones on the Cryptid Huntress. So you co-host with her often, don't you?
Yes, I enjoy. We have some very interesting discussions, absolutely. But you're part of my network now, so you're stuck with it. Okay.
Oh, I'll take it. Thank you, sir. I'm
Yeah,
honored and thank you. Yeah, and yeah, maybe we can play again sometime. We'll try a big little panel, try a little synaptic circle, and I always like
yeah,
narrowing down that way. See if you want to come back.
yeah,
Well, I
absolutely.
really appreciate you taking the time with me and community. Thank you for this lovely chat. I see you all there. You know what? I didn't put it on the screen this time. I forgot to hit that this time, but that's kind of a nice new feature, huh? You do StreamYard too, don't you, Dennis? That when they do the chat in there, or maybe that's Carol and Jane. So I just wanted to tell you that you got a lot of love in here. And it looks like Scott Rosen, it's your birthday too. So happy birthday to you. They're still chatting away in there. So if by
Yeah, what
chance,
birthday people tonight?
I know, right?
Yeah, yeah.
What can I ask? When's your birthday? When's your birthday, Dennis?
I'm
You don't have to
August
give me.
17th. I actually share that day with Davy Crockett, actually.
Hey,
Yeah.
I love that. That's the day
Yeah.
before my anniversary.
Uh,
So you're a
all
Leo
right. If
too.
you can remember. Yeah.
Yeah, I would remember your birthday now. And yeah, I'm surrounded by Leos, I guess. Thanks, Polly. Thank you everybody for the chat. If by chance you are
Well,
I know
what?
it's
I
never
told somebody the other day, Heidi, we Leos are going to take over the world one day. Absolutely. Yeah.
You know, watching my daughter grow, Miss Leo, I'm not surprised. I guarantee you will. Just carry me along the way. I'll be that
Yeah.
Scorpio riding your back.
Uh-oh.
Please check out, yeah, Ultima Replay crew.
Yeah.
Hello, 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 and thank you. And don't forget to hit like and subscribe and share with your peeps. All right, hang on for one sec, Dennis, so I can say a proper goodbye. But thank you, everybody. Wishing you a beautiful night, and I will be back on tomorrow, episode 46. I'm just cranking it out this summer with my good good buddy Henry from the Single Dad Project. So you'll have to check that out. All right. Dennis, thank you again. And we'll see you in just a moment. Bye,
Absolute
everybody.
pleasure. Thank you for having me.